I think this is going to be a controversial opinion, but Casino Royale had a lot of good moments, but the action was kind of goofy. Okay, so let's get into this video, guys. I already know that I'm going to be in the minority here, and this is an actual unpopular opinion, by the way. I rewatched Casino Royale, and according to 2024 standards, I get it, it's a 2006 film. Obviously, the standards were way different back then, and it's still a great movie. I think you should watch it, and I will watch it probably every year again. But the action scene that most people remember from Casino Royale was the first action scene, that was the parkour chase sequence where Bond is chasing this bad guy and shit. Yeah, that was kind of dumb. So, if you don't remember, Bond is chasing this guy through a construction site, and the guy gets on a crane, and Bond just gets on the crane. Like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? I get that the point of the film was supposed to be that this new Bond is just like an animal. He's like a fucking beast. He won't stop for anything. He's not just smart, he's like ruthless. And he's this alpha male Bond. He's the man's man. He will just go crazy. He won't let go of his target. He can't take his eyes off him. And he will chase him anywhere, even if it doesn't make sense, maybe. But that doesn't really make sense then. Like, why would he chase him up on a crane and jump from crane to crane when if a guy jumps and climbs a crane, he has to come down, like he has to make an escape from there anyways. If you just stand below him on the ground and watch him, you can just follow him on the ground, which is the best place to run for people, because that's like how the ground works, I guess. And I really don't get why people are so crazy about this action sequence. I think there are much better action sequences in the first film, and I also think that some of the charisma stuff is kind of cringe. Now there is a lot of positives about the film, and I do think that overall this is one of the best Bond films and one of the best films in general, like not just for its genre action spy film, but in general movie making wise and story wise. It has one of the best stories, the most simple and nice story which you can easily follow. I like those films when the plot is simple, and it's not just because I am dumb, that is true, but at the same time there's something more cinematic or classic about it when a story is just so simple and evergreen, where it's just point A to B and you know who the villain is, and they do a twist on it too in a nice way, in a realistic way, and in a way that makes a lot of sense. Basically, they emphasize on the guy that most films would skip on. So, if you don't know, the main villain is this guy called Mr. White. I think it's also a little weird that this main villain is kind of not even shown or really supposed to be intimidating. He's just some guy who goes in there and kills, which is pretty realistic. Like, if you have a gun and you walk into a room, I'm pretty sure that you're going to win that fight. Right? That's how it works. That's the main villain, though. But then there's this other villain that is the most iconic Bond villain in modern times, or for me at least, is the most iconic Bond villain ever, because it's played by Mads Mikkelsen, and it's this Le Sheriff character. I think that's how they pronounce it in the film, but the spelling is way different. I skipped my French classes, guys, I'm sorry. But he's the one who's showcased the most in the film, and he's not even the main guy. He's just some guy who has to pay back his debtors, the people who gave him money, so he's in trouble too. So he's just acting on self-defense. He's not even like actively killing people just for the fun of it or some shit. And yes, it's a bad guy. I'm not saying he's like a good guy or just some guy stuck in the wrong position or place, but there's some not relatability, but I guess it kind of humanizes him as a villain and makes him more fun to follow him too. Like, if they made a spin-off film, which I don't think they should or they would, but if they made a spin-off film about this Mads Mikkelsen character, or even a series, I think most people would watch it and love it, because it's like following Mr. White from Breaking Bad. That's kind of confusing, right? Walter White. Okay, I will drop that analogy now. But it's really fun. But when it's stupid, like when it's kind of bad, there are these dumb action sequences, and there are these things that really use Bond type character in real life, which probably there is, then people wouldn't remember him that well. Like, he wouldn't really be walking around like the main character, and every other person would just be staring at him. He walks in, everybody's staring at him, all the girls are after him already, and people remember his name or who he is for some reason. And obviously this is a very small point, but it kind of shows, if you watch it right now, if you rewatch the film, how characters and main characters were treated differently back then. And I think then Hollywood and all over the globe, cinema just had this revolution of, hey, let's make our main guy kind of sarcastic and cynical, and let's kind of have him not be liked that much in universe. I think that makes the character more relatable. Whereas Daniel Craig's Bond, I don't know why, for some reason I found it kind of funny when he just asks for a package in the film. I can't even find a screenshot probably of that scene because it's so unmemorable and not really that important. But he asks for his package to the hotel manager or like receptionist, and he checked into that hotel like that day or the day before, and he just asked, hey, you might have a package for me, and she just gives it to him. Like, how the fuck did she know who he even is, dude? I know this is a nitpick, but still, that's what it's like throughout the film. Like, he just knows what the right thing is to say, or every joke that he makes lands, and every time he asks for something, people just give it to him, like hand it over. And I get it, it's supposed to be that. If this film was made to be edited for TikTok and Instagram reels so that alpha bros could sell their finance courses or some shit, like it feels like that. It is the most romanticized version of what a man could be or what a man should be. Whereas I watched No Time to Die, and I might make a video contrasting these two, although that video is taking way too long. But in No Time to Die, he's more of a humanistic character. I think that happened because of character development, but also because filmmaking now and the media scene right now is that we like characters who kind of slip on a banana peel sometimes, or walk in on shit, like step on shit sometimes. Like, the world doesn't go revolve around them completely, but they still are the main character, of course. Whereas in this film, it's almost like every time Bond does something, it just works out for him instantly. Like, he's just God. You can fire a bullet at him and it might hit him, but it might just ricochet off of his bone and hit you back. That's kind of the kind aura he's carrying, or the main character energy that he has in this film. It's like a fragrance commercial. It's like a deodorant or cologne commercial, literally made into a film. And it's still a very watchable movie. I'm not hating on the film, by the way. I still like the story. I still like the characters. I still like the cinematography and the style and fashion choices, or the action sequences. Other than that one action sequence, even that action sequence is really good and creative. And I know that films after that movie just copied it to shit, so I'm probably kind of used to it now and don't really appreciate it as much as somebody who watched it for the first time, because apparently this was the first time people saw part 4, or it was mainstream like that. And I get it. It has some value. I think you should watch it. Again, it's not like